Hey, this is Tim Duffy with Alcova Mortgage, and if I can help you buy or refinance your existing home, I'm happy to do it. One of the biggest things I find holding people back from buying their home, especially their first home, is the down payment. How do we come up with it? I have great news for you. Follow along here. I have 21 ways to come up with that down payment. I think it'll get the gears turning and you thinking and you getting creative and hopefully help you get into your first home. The first, obviously, is just good old savings, right? You work hard, you save, right? That's kind of an obvious one. Another very common one is a gift from family members. So mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or uncle may want to help you because they know that owning a home builds wealth and they know it's security for your family. So they may want to help with the down payment, and you can do that. One that a lot of people don't realize, you can create, if you're getting married soon, a wedding registry, and those people coming to celebrate your wedding can actually help also with the down payment on your first home. And it's a great thing. People love doing that. Another way that's used more often than you would think is a gift of equity, right? You have a family member oftentimes, or a friend of the family, or someone you know most often that wants to sell you a home. They want to help you out, but they don't want to give you the home because it's their asset. So instead, they help you out with giving you a gift of equity. And that gift of equity can cover the down payment and the closing costs. Another way people come up with their down payment is simply by really constricting in order to fulfill that goal, and that is by cutting out expenses and really getting down to the nitty-gritty on this, but taking everything you cut from expenses and saving it as a separate savings account for your down payment. I can't tell you how many homeowners, first time especially, that I've helped by doing that. And I love it because what they're doing is cutting back in order to gain so much more, and I love it. Another thing is simply set up a separate account. If everything goes through your checking account, you probably know this already. If you're anything like me, it just keeps on going through. But if you set up to where you have part of your income go to a checking account and another little part go to a savings account at a separate bank, guess what? You don't touch it. It's like it's not there until it is, and you use it to get into your home. So I highly recommend, any way you do it, a separate savings account. We do have down payment assistance programs, and I can talk to you more about that if you want to contact me about this. Down payment assistance programs can be a very, very good way to go. The only caution is go into it with eyes wide open. You really have to read the fine details, and I'll help you do that. And if it still makes sense for you, we'll do that. Okay, now we're getting really creative. A second job, right? You can't use a second job for income to qualify for that home loan, but any money you earn is your money, and you use that for the down payment or closing costs. And I can't tell you how many people feel so accomplished, and rightfully so, because they got that second job. And they worked maybe a few months delivering pizzas at night or whatever it may be in order to buy their first home. And that is a joyful occasion because they work for it. Another one very similar to that is just working a side gig. You drive for Uber Eats, you drive for Uber, you get a pressure washer, and all your neighbors, guess what they need? A good pressure wash. And that earns money that you then sock away and save. You'd be amazed how quickly you will save up for that down payment. Because remember, the down payment is only sometimes 0%, but we're talking here 3, maybe 3.5% of that home loan. It's amazing how quickly you can save that. You get into the gig economy, right? Everyone's doing that. Again, Lyft, Uber, whatever it may be. Or you sell something. I closed a loan this week for a first-time home buyer. He and his wife bought their first home. They didn't have family to give them a gift. They didn't. But you know what they did have? They had a car, and they went down to CarMax. We all know what cars are doing these days, right? Used cars are at the highest prices they've been in years and years, probably ever. And he sold a car, came up with that money for the down payment, and we closed on their home last week. He came by the house, gave us a little stuffed goat, said, "You are the greatest of all time lenders." And I said, "No, actually, you are, because you're the one who got creative and got yourself into this home. We just helped out along the way." And it was, what a joyful moment that was. And then retirement funds. How many people do I have who say, "Well, I'd love to buy my own home, but I don't have any liquid funds. I do have a 401k," and they don't realize you can oftentimes not take money out of the 401k because there's penalties and taxes and everything, but borrow against the 401k. And that's a great way to go. You end up paying yourself back. We don't count anything you borrow against the 401k. We don't count against you as debt because it's your money, right? And so that's a great way to use the 401k now while still saving for retirement and get into your first home. Another way similar to that is to cut back on your retirement account contributions or cut it out altogether for a short period of time and use that plus anything else you can gather to save for that down payment. As soon as you're into the home, start up the 401k contributions again, right? Start saving for retirement again, because now you have two assets growing. But all you're doing is stopping one for a moment to get another and then let both grow, your home and your 401k. Okay, so the other part of getting into a home is not only the down payment, but your closing costs. And that's where a lot of times people don't realize that you can negotiate that the seller pay the closing costs. And it's a very, very common way for first-time home buyers to get into the home, right? It just is. So this is going to sound weird on a video about 21 ways to come up with your down payment, but one of the ways is simply do 100% financing, no down payment. And that is, everyone knows that a VA loan is eligible for 100% financing. So if you're active duty military or you're a veteran, you can do 100% financing, no down payment. But a lot of people don't know that there's also something called rural housing that's also 100% financing available to most everybody. The deal is the property has to be considered rural. So I can help you look that up and look for the areas and make sure you're looking in an area where the home qualifies, and we can look at 100% financing. Another is, a lot of people these days, especially, almost especially since COVID has taken a hold, a lot of people have started side hustles or a side business, right? And so a lot of times you can use business funds, so long as it won't adversely affect the business, won't hurt the business, right? You can use business funds for your down payment as well. So another one that comes up a lot, it's amazing how often this comes up, and because people want to save cash at home, right? You've got a safe, you got some cash in it, you bury it in a tin can in the backyard. I don't know, you have cash at home. That's one thing that we can't use. Cash saved at home. So how do you use it? Well, you have to season it. So you put it in the bank. So if you're getting ready to buy a home and you've got some cash and that's part of or all of your down payment, do go ahead and put it in the bank, because it has to be there for 2 months. At least a month, 2 months in some cases. And then it's your money. But if it's cash saved at home, we can't source it, so we can't use it. Another one, okay, I had a buyer just 2 months ago close on a home, and I thought it was absolutely terrific. His employer really liked him. He talked to his employer. It was a smallish, I think there were less than 100 employees in the company. He knew the owner of the company pretty well, and the owner obviously liked him and wanted to help him out. And he said, look, if you want to buy your own home, as they were talking about that, the employer said, I'll give you a bonus in order to cover your down payment. And so a lot of times employers will help with that if you just ask. Say, do you have any employer contributions to help with my down payment or getting into my first home? And a lot of times I do. And there's only one way to find out. Ask. There's only 2 possible answers, and one of them is pretty good, so it's worth at least asking. Okay, another one is a loan, right? You can't use a loan for the down payment on a home, but you can use a loan secured against some other asset. So let's say you have a car, you have a boat, you have a motorcycle, and it's paid free and clear, and you don't want to sell it because you love it. You can go ahead and take a loan against that. We will count that one in your debt ratio, so we'll have to know the payment and make sure you still qualify, but oftentimes you will, right? So if you want to take out a loan against a car, a boat, or motorcycle, or anything else that you own, a real asset, you can also do that to help cover the down payment as well. Let's just make sure before you do it that that payment is going to help you qualify. And finally, another one is sweat equity. This one I do not see used very often, and there's very specific ways to do it. It sounds easy, right? You help fix up a property, and in turn, the current owner sells it to you and gives you your labor cost basically as the down payment. That's essentially what it is. That's sweat equity. If you work out that deal with a homeowner, we can make that work. However, talk to me first, because there's very specific ways to document that. If we don't, we can't use it. If we do, it's very, very simple. And you could buy a home just using sweat equity to get into that home. Guys, I hope that gets you thinking and gets the gears turning and gets you thinking about how am I going to get into this home? So many ways. I've seen so many success stories. And when you have to get creative to get into your first home, it's somehow so much more rewarding getting into your home than if you didn't. And so I hope this gave you some ideas to get the gears turning and help you get your first home. If I can help you with that, let me know. Reach out below.